was when they researched the name of the law, it said blue lives matter. Now, what Edward Giuliani said, if that's the case, if that's a racist statement, then what are you going to say about blue lives matter? You going to me? They don't think because they're all caught up in this thing called, you do like I say do or you don't do. People got to be able to, Americans need their rights. They need their privileges. The Constitution of the United States is not colorblind. So therefore, you have to be able to deal with what it is and to make things happen. The Second Amendment, the First Amendment gives you an opportunity to talk to me and do whatever you have to do, demonstrate, protest, and get the news. That is vitally important. You know what I mean? So you can vex the man.
Do you then find the proposed Muslim ban unconstitutional?
No. You know what? He didn't know how to present it. So you say, forgive him, Father, you know not what he's doing. The Muslim ban is not the ban. He did what FDR did in 1941 or whatever it is.
Which was bad.
Yes, it was bad. Altogether bad. How you going to talk about Hitler in the concentration camp, you know what I mean? And then you go out and do the same thing. And I have went to all the concentration camps. I've been to Auschwitz. I've been to Krakow. I've been to Dachau. I done seen people's hair being raised into rugs. I done seen people's bodies in the hot throwing in the furnaces. I done seen where they have the gas where you think you're taking a shower and the gas come out and kill you. I done lived with that. I done seen it myself personally. So I'm for mankind, humankind, black and white alike. I'm not going against nobody because of the pigmentation of their skin, the content of their hardened character. You know what I mean?
But so you're against the Muslim ban?
Oh, I'm against any ban, but you know what? Not against a ban. Just like anybody else, when you come through the door, the security and safety of this place here, they have to search you to pat you down. That, you do. So you go to the extreme if it's come from somewhere where the propaganda and the media exhortation, you know what I mean? But you go for the protection of America, but you don't do nothing that you wouldn't want done to you. So he's saying, I want to protect America, but he could have did it much more smoothly and much more sophisticated.
Mr. K, when Donald Trump points out to an African-American in the crowd and says, my African-American over there, is that kind of racist?
You know what? If that's all that to be bothered with racism, I would be smiling and eating steak and having and the goose would be flying down on Thanksgiving.
Pointing out someone's skin.
You're treating effect, not the cause. You must go to the cause. The cause is a corrupt, evil system of white supremacy and control. It is the greatest mindset, the greatest behavior, you know what I mean? The greatest attitude, customs. You got to be individually and institutionally. You got to be able to go to the cause. You know what I mean? Because he's trying to talk. Don't forget, he's not a politician. He don't know what to say that's going to make him real good. He's just saying what he feels, but he's going to get. He's a good businessman. He's going to pick guys like yourself that knows in that he can do something. He can't do it by himself.
And why do you think it's majority white people that attend these rallies? Very few Latinos, African Americans. Do you think there's anything to that? Any element of racism?
You know what? All elements of racism. Racism is the thing that you can make people feel that they're inferior. That's what they do to the white woman. That she's privileged, she can't make a decision, so therefore she is not capable of being a whole human being. But if you keep working, be patient, we're going to get it to you pretty soon. Yet, she gave birth to them. So if she's inferior, you're inferior. And the system runs the thing. She's inferior, and she's owned property. So here's how they describe it. You say, I admit, this is the white racist. I admit that the white woman should have, in spite of her frivolity and her not being able to deal with what is real, she should get her rights. And I admit that the slave that we took from Africa in chains and fetters and thought to be against his will, he should have his liberty. But what about the property rights? The master got property rights, he owned them both, and he pays taxes. So at this time, we got to go with the master. We go with the master, and don't worry, lady, we'll get you next time, and you to get back out there in that field with the whip and the lash.
Donald Trump got 0% among the African-American vote in a recent Pennsylvania poll. Why do you think it is that so many African-Americans are not?
Because they don't know either. They don't know either. They're ignorant and complacent about what the situation is. It's the system. It ain't Donald Trump. You know what I mean? And so that's why Rance Priest or whatever his name is, don't want me with him. You mean a double D would be a bad mother, man? Do you understand that? They didn't like George Walker Bush. Do you know when we come here in Cleveland, in the letter for Bush, they had a billboard out. Wanted dead or alive. Ed Gillespie. They put it out on a billboard, like Cowboys. You know what I mean? Billboard, Ed Gillespie wanted dead or alive. Coming in with me. You know what I mean? You got to understand what time it is. But I delivered Ohio against all odds. Because no black didn't like no Republican. You know what I mean? Although Republican was the first one that gave blacks the rights with U.S. Grant and all of them coming in. But they took it away when they went in Reconstruction, and they bought 1876 was the worst election in the history of the country, and they bought the goddamn election and took the troops out of the South, and then with the end of Reconstruction, they put the same people back into power that was in power that had them in slavery.
And how's Donald Trump going to help inner cities? He talks about the inner cities. African-American unemployment, especially among the young people, is through the roof. He hasn't introduced any policies to help them.
1968.
No, this is 2016.
No. You asked me the question. Let me answer it. Now, you did your thing. 1968, March the 14th, a man named Martin Luther King Jr., he said that the African-American unemployment is going through the roof. He said it's 8.8. He said if you go up, it's going to be 16 to 17%. And if you go to the youth, it's going to be 50 to 60%. 20 days later, they assassinated him. All right? Now, in 2016, in February, the NPA and whatever it is, the law come out. Black American youth, 8.8 unemployment. Black American youth, 16, 17, if you go through the pictures, because you got a lot of people that don't feel that they feel this hopeless. You even talk about getting a job. You ain't got those who would go there, the underpaid and the unemployed. So you got to be able to understand what he's got a job on, but that's why he got somebody like me that understands it. I delivered it for Bush. I got the people that give him one chance and he come out.
What's he going to do for them, though? What's he going to do?
He's going to give them a better America because we're going to make it do it. You know, that's what
Any specifics or just make America?
No. If we give America back to the American people, we are governed by the consent of the governed. We, the people, the power rests and rely in the people. And that's what George Washington said when he came into office. He said the people will always have the power. Somehow or another, the power is begun into our leaders that we send to Washington to get us the rights that they're out to activate things, just like you asking me these questions, and then say, oh, this is great, you got to do it. Now you go to Washington, and they give you an envelope, and next thing you know, you go to dinner, and next thing you know, you become a part of the problem that you would sit there to try to reconcile. You got to understand, man, it's a very smart system.
I'm hearing no specifics. How he's going to give jobs?
Well, you know what? By creating American business and entrepreneurship, being able to bring people together to work for the betterment of our country, not for the betterment of other countries. You know what I mean? And still keep the respect and the culture, respect of the other country. Walk in their shoes. Don't try to intimidate. Don't try to buy them and intimidate them in person. Understand, respect, R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
What do you think of comparisons to George Wallace and Donald Trump?
George Wallace, you know what? Go back to your Google go. Now you got to do that. George Wallace was what we call for South a libertarian, and he was running around saying nice things, going to bring the people in. And they said, if you don't out-nigger them people, you got to be out of your mind. You're going to be able to do this. George Wallace then came up with segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. And then the Lord struck him down and he got popped in there where he was paralyzed, where it really helps. You know what I mean? And he had to suffer all his life. And at the end, he was coming back appealing to everybody. All the ones that he had hurt, he was making appeals to them to try to justify his inconceivability of doing things wrong. Wrong don't make right. This system makes wrong right. It considers the white woman an article of merchandise, enslaved, with no privileges. She's inferior. All right? They consider people of color inferior, you know what I mean, when they own property. So the master owns the property. We got to change the system, man.
I just want to move y'all this way here.
Okay.
Because Don talk real loud. He overpowered other interviews.
Yes.
What does Trump have to do to beat Hillary? What does he have to do to beat Hillary?
Change the system. If he stay with that battle cry, because his own party is stabbing him in the back. You know what I mean? You know, the OJs come from Cleveland, but the OJs is the national anthem. They smile in your face, and all the time they want to take your place to backstab. They can't control now. So therefore, they can't buy him. They can't intimidate him. They can't coerce him. So I'm asking all the women and all the people of color, take a shot, because it can't be no worse than what it already is. You know what I mean? It can't be no worse than what it is. Let's get us a new system and then let us work together collectively, one for each we are, one, and make things happen for a better America.
Up until recently, Donald Trump has been relatively quiet on black victims of police violence. Do you think he should have spoken out earlier?
You know what? That's what they all say. But if you everything he would say, and since he ain't brief in blackness, because he's never had to suffer that anguishing anxiety of want to be and can't be, doing everything that's impossible to say emulate and imitate the white man. And if you do that, if you get success, then the success is repudiated. You can't be able to deal with it. So he got to learn. So you got to be able to help him just like you help anyone else. But you got to understand something. You have no rights. And I don't care about the vanity of what he's saying, what he don't say.
When you say you have to help them, what does that mean?
That means you got, you know what do you do to your son or daughter when they're 2 or 3? And that's where it all starts at, you know. You know, it starts in the home. Racism is not inherited. Hatred is not inherited. Bigotry is not inherited. Discrimination is not inherited. It is taught. You know what I mean? And they use the woman to help emulate themselves. They can't get no rights, can't get the right and the reason to say what they need to do and how they want to do it. So they are being used by false pretenses, you know what I mean, false promises, you know what I mean, and so they wrote to romanticize. But nevertheless, they still ain't got their rights. They can't even get equal pay, you know. And all the women that I'm talking to is the voice of Alice Paul, the ERA, 1923. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, 1848, the first women's convention. Susan B. Anthony, Lucy Stone. All of these people that were fighting, they were white women because blacks were enslaved. They were white women fighting for their rights, and they could not be a whole human being. All right, so we got to change that. All that's going to change when we create that new system. Tear this system apart and make America great again. America first. Forget about that other stuff. Let's get that new system, and then we can deal with it, at least on an equal basis. I love it. I love this country. I'm fighting for the American people, not for Donald Trump and not for Hillary Clinton. I love them both, but I love the American people more.
Now we're going to get that new system. How are we going to tear this system out and get that new system? How do we do that?
Yeah, you know, you have to vote for Trump because the people's voice they have chosen him as the leader of their resentment. They resent the government, they resent their politicians, they resent the establishment, and there's so much resentment that they have chosen a leader of that resentment. And Donald Trump happened to be the man that they chose because he's independent, he couldn't be bought, he couldn't be intimidated, he couldn't be coerced, and he spent his own money in the primaries.
What do you think about his VP pick then? He was kind of part of the establishment.
That's the beginning of changing everything. You must understand that the Ku Klux Klan is the largest group in there, which that's a terrorist group, but they don't consider them terrorists, I guess. You know what I mean? They only killed about 50,000 black people in 1860. You know what I mean? And they had 600 convictions, and the only one of them they paid $20 and $30 fine for murder. You understand? So now what do you do? So you got that where they can know how to fight it, to know how it's born, bred, and realized. And so he picked a man that can help him to do what he has to do, bring people together, the white woman and people of color. And so we're in that state. It was 8 million strong at one time. You know what I mean? And they tell me that President Wilson, Woodrow Wilson, was sworn in. It was the birth of a nation. Now I'm kind of confused because I read somewhere that Warren G. Harding was a Ku Klux Klansman, and he was sworn in and had the birth of the nation in the White House. Now today I get that it's Woodrow Wilson who was in there. I don't know which one of the historians is right or wrong, but I do know this. The birth of a nation was preamble in the White House. You know, I know that.
Did Donald Trump call you and ask you to be here?
Yes. Donald Trump, but this is my home. He don't have to ask me to come here, but he did. He asked me to come and speak. And then this guy named Rich Braver or Reaver or whatever his name is, he said with the Republican Party can't have a man that has done killed another man, even though he's been pardoned for it and suffered great contrition and for killing a fellow human being. He says in my hometown that I can't speak. The Republican Party can't have that. But what about George Walker Bush? What about Herbert Walker Bush? You know what I mean? What about Jimmy Carter? You know what I mean? What about all these guys that done had me on their staff, making me go out and talk to them, and we win? What is this? Is he Rip Van Winkle? Has he been sleeping for these 25 years or 30 years?
Wait, so they wouldn't let you speak here?
Yes. That's the rich playboy. Donald Trump and him is fighting right now. You know what I mean? But what it is, it ain't about me. It's about Donald Trump. They don't really want Donald Trump because they can't control him. So therefore, they ain't interested in Donald King because they can't do nothing to me.
But you spoke in
I'm an American and nobody's gonna be proud. I'm fighting for people like him, young. People like young will come out and do something for this nation. I want people to see what it is to be an American. This is a prize gem. I've been around the world. I've been everywhere. I'm on the board of Iran. I'm on the board of Israel. I'm a peace ambassador for Israel. Shimon Peres and Eri, Shalom, Mazel Tov. I'm on them board. All right, so why? Because I speak the truth. You know what I mean? With the Indian, a Native
But
American.
we talked in 2004. You was in New York. We did an interview at the convention there.
That is so true. That is so true.
So they didn't have you. They didn't ban you there. Why are they banning you
That's
now?
what the bullshit is. That's what you must understand. That's the old game. How can he do this? It don't even make sense. This is the same party that I was with Carl Lowe.
If you guys are just tuning in, that is legendary